Tell your friends! Tell your friends about Hooks and Ladders, but also about songstudio.ca. You can get all kinds of information about songwriting, tips, and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, like, follow, and subscribe. That's what we need. That's what you need. Hey there, welcome to another episode of Hooks and Ladders. My name is Blair Packham.
My name is Allister Bradley, and we are joined today by artist, songwriter, producer extraordinaire Bob Wiseman. Bob, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
that was a very unexcited response to my excited question.
It was an unexcited response because I was just thinking I'm not a producer extraordinaire. In fact, I hardly get any work anymore as a producer. I'm at school doing a PhD in music, in improvisation, and I love producing. But a lot of the music work that I've done, a lot of it has really been slowed down. I mean, part of it is COVID, but part of it is just the way the world has morphed during the last 20 years, 15 years, the way people are enabled to do their own work with the software that comes with yes. Okay, go right ahead. There's just less and less that has been profitable to do and there's been more and more gatekeepers of a lot of the business, in my experience, who you have to, and to join those kinds of clubs means to kind of have another cut of what you could earn going to the person who runs the company that's giving you a salary. So producer extraordinaire, I feel like I'd be a charlatan to go yeah, that's me. No. Yeah. I mean, I've produced a lot of things, don't get me wrong. And I have experiences and maybe I have some knowledge too, but I wish I could get behind that moniker. Anyways.
We could just add charlatan. We'll add charlatan to the list.
Charlatan. Thanks.
Well, but you've been involved in so many terrific projects.
Thanks.
And I think there's something about your style as a producer that stands out, especially in light of, like you say, today, the fact that the tools can make it so easy to produce something palatable without having to work all that hard. But I think your approach has typically been that you go for something that's very organic and is never something that leans towards the perfectionist. What is that appropriate for me to say?
I don't know. I mean, sure, it's appropriate. I mean, if it's your opinion, I'm not sure, but I mean, man, there's a song, there's a song by Drake that I've heard a bunch of times this year, and it's just so embarrassing. It's hilarious that it's played all the time, and it's exactly what you're saying about things that are just generated automatically, and it's like Revolution number 9 is being played on AM or is being played as Top 40 all the time, which is of course kind of amazing. I mean, a part of me really thinks that is amazing. That was something that really doesn't have that's kind of missing all the, this from a certain point of view, that's revolutionary. But I don't believe that Drake was trying to be revolutionary in doing it. I think it was just really simplistic and and really kind of intoxicated with his position of the powerful position that he can just do anything and just throw it to the kind of lions. And it blows my mind how it's absorbed and how it's I wish I could tell you the name of the song or quote some of it. And of course, saying that, of course, because he's so popular, there'd be 10,000 people wanting to kind of beat me up just for saying it. But it's just the emperor's new clothes to me. A lot of things are really? I mean, I hear all this because my daughter, who's cooking right now, who's 9, that's all she wants to listen to is the popular radio. It's just awesome because it puts me in the driver's seat of having to endure these things and consider them and listen all the time. But it's kind of, sort of incredible to me. Sorry, my mind just went off on that with the way you were explaining those histories.
Well, I wanted to talk about the process that you carried with you into those sessions on the records you've produced, where
Sure.
where you would look for the soul in the music, and regardless of whether there was something imperfect about the performance.
Well, thanks, but I mean, who's not going to answer? Who's not going to agree to that? Like everyone, I mean, everybody thinks that's what they're doing, but and me too, So I don't know what to say, but
Well,
yeah,
but the another way of putting it might be warts and all. Like in other words, the imperfections
yeah,
might be more glaring
yeah,
than and so yeah, you're right. If you say you're looking for the soul, then it does sound like, well, of course, yes, of course I am. But if you'd be happy to take. Like if it spoke to you emotionally, you'd be happy to go for something that was out of tune or out of time or whatever, if it was the right emotion. And that you are different from other producers in that way.
yeah. I also
You have to see that.
I've been around people that are very anal too, and I've seen the
Right.
and I've seen both the what's useful about it and what's offensive about it, or what's like. So, yeah, I feel like that was a real fortunate accident that I kind of have been around people that that have different kind of tastes, and just help. It's kind of a mystery. Like if you don't have access to get like now, the world's so different now because everybody has a recording studio in their computer basically. But previously, it was such a classist thing. How could you get in there without having the dough? And so once you did experience, so I just by luck, by Blue Rodeo taking off, and by virtue of working with different producers, I got to kind of a firsthand look at like what producers were, and I could kind of gauge myself against their musical talent or lack of it, and or I could feel. I realized that I didn't have to be insecure about my capacity to kind of arrange a song or do the things that these guys are doing, because especially if they did things that I thought were like not very interesting. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, well, I totally am not insecure anymore about like my. I believe I can do this. So let's try and do it. But paired with that is if you listen to Imagine, in the middle of one sec, I got the sync running here. Does it matter? Okay. In the one sec, my daughter's making pancakes. Okay, do you have enough water? Okay, good. Okay, awesome. So in the middle of Imagine, I think, I don't remember if it's the second chorus or second verse, you hear, I think, A and G or A sharp suddenly together. The bass player plays the wrong note, or the piano. And I heard it like 2 or 3 years ago, suddenly as an accident. And it was like, oh my God, I never noticed that. And I don't think, I'm not sure how many people have noticed it. And it was so exciting to kind of, and I've heard that in some other examples of other songs that I've known for years. But it's so cool to come upon something that you love and hear what would not be allowed in terms of the anal ordinary producer, and realize that like, oh, that went down with, a blemish and no one cares, because it's just worth noting that you don't have that idea that you have to remove all blemishes at all costs all the time, that in itself is part of the thing being excellent, isn't necessarily true.
Right. If you listen to the Beatle multi-tracks, here we are going down a Beatles rabbit hole again. If you listen to the Beatle multi-tracks that float around on the internet, you can hear, like, there's the multi-tracks of Sgt. Pepper, and you can hear on the vocal tracks there's all kinds of stuff going on, like in the background they're chatting and they're laughing.
Oh, good.
And,
That's so good.
Yeah, and there's glasses clinking, but you don't hear it on the final record, or at least not consciously. I think you do hear it unconsciously or subconsciously.
On the separate tracks to Superstition, which perhaps you have too.
I do. Yeah.
You hear the horn players. There's two of them, and one of them says to the other, like, "This chorus, chorus, chorus." Like he's telling him what's happening next, and you don't hear that in the actual thing, but hearing it isolated, and it's just awesome. Yeah. And you hear Stevie Wonder improvising more at the end with his own vocals than what's actually audible in the mix of it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it makes everybody realize that they're good, that they're good enough, that people are ordinary, that it's not that people who have done well are different kinds of human beings than you or your buddy. Yeah, I mean, it's about doing the work and being creative and just getting on with it.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. And that's why we all have studios now. The democratization of recording has been a mixed bag for songwriters and so forth. You've talked about being produced by somebody. When you produce somebody who already has songs, like they've already done demos, do you work with people like that who have stuff that's like close to what they think is sort of done? Or do you always work with people who are less adept that way?
Um, I think I mostly work with people that are less adept that way, because it's just, yes, what is it? Either one. That was a spatula question. Another area of expertise I have. The long spatula, the short one. I don't know if you guys could have answered that, but yeah, either one. Way to go. I don't know. Like I can't really. I guess I'm answering it that way partly because people don't really come to me with something that's nearly finished. It usually is kind of raw, or part of why I'm interested in someone is because it's more fun to work with someone who doesn't know their way around too, because there will be, there will be power dynamics that have to be addressed. And part of what's in it for me is being the person who arranges and organizes things. And if the person I'm working with knows a lot less about all that, it's a lot more likely that they will just, assuming I'm a good guy, just trust me to kind of be the good guy who's doing that sort of thing. If they know a lot more about it, I mean, it's particularly with men, but it can happen with women too. It can be a lot easier for it to be about, trying to prove who knows more or whatever. Mm-hmm. And and that can like just be a source of a lot of delay, because sometimes a lot of the producing work, unfortunately, is also being a shrink. And sometimes it's too much of what you have to do. And when that happens, it happens and you just can't predict it when suddenly it's happened and you're in that situation. But you make a mental note of like, how did this happen? And how can I not get in this situation next time? And part of it is like talking to people at the onset of the project of what you're about and what you want to do, just trying to make sure there's less confusion about what it's all about. So I love it if I can supply a lot of those things for someone. And sometimes they don't even have a demo. I go to open stages. I have all my life, and I love those places. Partly because they are, well, you discover people, and it's a place where people go where they have nowhere to go, and it's an entry point. And it's also, and the music business doesn't exist there, which is fantastic and there's no curation, which is the music business is all about curation. So I love the experience in the open stage of how often I'm wrong. I love how I sit there and I imagine just by looking at someone that they're going to be good or they're not going to be any good. And it might work out that they weren't good and I didn't think they were good, but they also might blow me away. And I just love how often I might be totally wrong. It's like a life thing. It's a life lesson to kind of take to everywhere else you go. Anyways, and when I find people there, they're often, they're at an open stage. They don't have anything going on, and it's not. It's pretty exciting sometimes to people like that. If I offer to kind of start recording and doing something with them if they want, and I want to because life is short. To be around great art is just more meaningful than to be around plastic.
Absolutely. Is that how you met Ron Sacksmith, by the way?
Yeah.
You guys worked early on, and you met him at an open stage.
I met him at an open stage that wasn't very good. That was at Sneaky D's, the original Sneaky D's at Bloor and Bathurst. And I thought he was pretty good. And the crowd liked him too. He was doing Ring of Fire, and I can't remember what else he did, but it wouldn't have been an original. And I was already at Fat Albert's all the time, and we were both in our mid-20s. And I just met him after he played. He was he was kind of like not much different than the way he is. He was kind of like a shy misfit kind of guy. And I said to him, hey, I don't know if I wrote down my phone number. I gave him some kind of information about Fat Albert's, which was on Wednesdays, because the Sneaky D's thing, like any open stage that's in a bar, will have the drawback of people being in a bar trying to have drinks and being distracted with bar culture. And that was part of what was amazing about open stages like Fat Albert's is that they are like a concert. Even if there's just 5 people, they're just there to watch you play. And I was like, dude, you should come to this one. It's way better. And and then he came the next week, and he kind of understood instantly like the value of it, and he became a regular over the next 2 or 3 or 4 years too, with me and other regulars.
Right. You guys seem kindred in the sense that you value art and the experience as well of art. It seems like a natural fit to me. Well, we gotta wrap up, but it's been great having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I'll let you know how the pancakes turn out.
Yeah, I'd like to know.